Thank you, Mayor. So the first item we have is just simply a clerical error for the account description. On your January 11th meeting, Mayor and Council approved the CDBG capital project budget ordinance. This item is simply just to allow a correction on the form that we actually approved. For the revenue side, it showed loan proceeds from BB&T/Truist, and that was actually the description of the revenue source for another budget amendment that we had, and the actual correct account description should have been grant from the North Carolina Department of Commerce. And so this is simply just a accounting clerical error that we need to approve.
I make a motion to approve that clerical error, Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the next is our committee meetings, and the first one is Administrative Committee, that's chaired by Councilman Hyde.
Thank you, Mayor Stallings. The first matter that the committee has for council would be the appointment of a candidate for the open position on the Edenton Housing Authority. The executive director, Deborah Davis, has sent to us a letter of support that the current appointee, Annie Knopfsinger, be reappointed to that position. It's for a 5-year term, and she comes with a strong administrative recommendation that she continue in that position. And so my recommendation, if there's no objection to it, would be forwarded to our full vote before the council in February, and that we approve the appointment of Ms. Knopfsinger to that particular position. Is everybody good with that one?
Great way. Great way.
I know her, and I think she's doing a good job from what I understand. The next matter is the Confederate Monument Resolution Draft. At our December 14th meeting, Councilman Coleman brought up under matters considered timely and important a potential resolution as it relates to the Confederate Monument. At that point in time, the council forwarded it to an administrative committee meeting that we were hoping was going to occur in late December, but we forgot due to the holidays that we did not have committee meetings in December, and so that was forwarded to tonight's committee meetings. And Councilman Coleman, if you will you read the draft resolution, and then given the importance of the issue, I don't know if people want to speak on it. I know we have two council members that are not here tonight, and my intent would be, as a committee, we refer and recommend things to move forward to full council for a vote. And I think after I hear from Roger, unless I hear any objection to it, it would be my recommendation that we do refer it to our February meeting for full vote, full discussion. And I may add also, at that point in time, we have public dialogue if people want to speak on it at that point in time.
And that's February 8th?
But whatever that,
Yes,
yeah, it is.
February.
Yeah. Okay, February 8th. Just so that those gathered here today, the general public can hear what Councilman Coleman is proposing and what we would vote upon in February, we're going to have him read that proposed resolution. Councilman Coleman.
And I would say, Councilman Hyde, that this resolution had the input from other council members, both those present tonight and those not present, so the wording is not my own. It's a resolution in support of moving the Edenton Confederate Monument and designing its replacement. Whereas the Edenton Town Council formed the Human Relations Commission, and this commission was charged in part with addressing the future of the Edenton Confederate Monument. And whereas the Human Relations Commission, after significant study and discussion, did recommend to the Edenton Town Council that the Confederate Monument be moved from its current location. And whereas the town of Edenton staff has noted that the monument is currently described as non-contributing on Edenton's National Historic Register listing as a result of its relocation from its original site in 1961, leading to the conclusion by town staff that a new site would be as appropriate as the current location. Now therefore be it resolved that the Edenton Town Council does hereby approve the relocation of the Confederate monument from its location on South Broad Street, consistent with the laws of North Carolina governing such relocations. And be it further resolved that Madison Spencer, an architect, be retained to assist the Edenton Town Council with the design and construction of a new structure to replace the existing Confederate monument. Approved by the Edenton Town Council as regular scheduled meeting on, and this would be the 8th of February if this resolution is approved. Can I say a few words about this? Is that?
I'd like to.
Yeah, I guess that would be fine, and, you know, you may have to reiterate those at the next meeting since not everybody's here. And so that's considered at the next meeting, but yes, entirely appropriate.
I think what the resolution seeks to accomplish is three goals. One, to express appreciation to the Human Relations Commission for their diligence, their hard work, and to affirm the Commission's recommendation that the Confederate monument be moved. And to acknowledge that such movement will take place within the guidelines established by the state of North Carolina for the relocation or removal of such Confederate monuments and statues. And further, to establish a commitment to replace the monument with a new structure of significance to the broader community. The Town Council's decision to move the Confederate monument from its present location will be one that will define our values of the town for years to come. We walk a fine line between bemoaning the deaths of young soldiers in battle, while at the same time condemning the atrocities and the horrific injustices for which those battles were fought. Be my prayer that the spirit of love and justice guide all of us as we move forward in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Councilman Miller, did you have any comment?
I just want to make a statement on the Confederate monument. I went ahead and wrote it out, so I captured everything. I just want to say I'm of the opinion, based on my many discussions with Edenton citizens, that the existing Confederate monument is viewed by many of our African American citizens and others as a blatant symbol of racial injustices, discrimination, and oppression. As town council members, we took a pledge of solidarity to encourage mutual respect and inclusiveness among all of our citizens by promoting racial equality and harmony within our town. The removal and relocation of the Confederate monument, consistent with the 2015 state law governing such matters, would be a most positive step toward addressing racial reconciliation with our Edenton community.
Thank you, Council. And Mayor Stallings, with those things being said, it would be my recommendation as the chairperson of this committee that we refer this for full discussion and full vote at our regularly scheduled meeting in February.
I agree. The only question I have is how can we say that we have agreed to move it when we haven't even discussed it, but we're saying in this proclamation that we've agreed to
Wow.
move it and several other things, and we haven't even talked about it.
Yeah, that,
I have a problem with that.
yeah, no, I understand, and I think I can address that to your satisfaction, at least I hope I can. That is just the language that will be proposed at the next meeting to be voted upon. And so it's worded as if it is going to be, and it still has to take the full vote of the council in order to do that. So it's reading as if it is going to be passed on that date, just because we need to have something in front of us is what's proposed and what we're actually voting upon. So we're looking at it today, even though it's worded for February 8th. I don't know if that helps you any. And I'm just recommending that it be referred to
I agree.
on that.
Yeah, I agree with that part.
Okay.
And in that particular time, there's public comment
Mhm.
too, so.
Okay, so we make
I
that
want
referral?
to say something.
Yes, sir.
I got a letter about the monument, and it was to my understanding that if they moved it, they couldn't move it as it is. That the town would have to build another one.
Well, what I believe, and Roger, you help me, what I believe the intent of the resolution is if it is voted upon favorably, it would signal an intent to move it consistent with whatever the Supreme Court rules. We're hopeful that the Supreme Court would rule fairly expeditiously on the matter and give us some guidance. If there's a long delay in that, we may have to revisit the issue if the delay is longer than what we're comfortable with. But we still intend to listen to the guidance of our attorney and listen to the guidance of the North Carolina State Supreme Court. But we are signaling an intent, if we are given the proper guidance to do that, that we would like to do so, if the resolution passes.
Yeah, well, our next council meeting is gonna be explained fully if it's moved, what it consists of, right? Everything complete, right?
Well, right now, I don't think so. Right now, if it is passed, it is saying that we intend to move it. Right now, from what I understand with my conversations with individual councilmen, we do not have a consensus on where to move it. My guess is if we called a vote, and this is merely my guess, on whether to move it or not, that the question of whether to move it or not would pass in favor of moving it. If a specific location was named at this time, based on my conversations, we've got 3, 4, 5 different ideas about where it should be moved, and that will continue, we'll need to continue to hash that out. But Councilman Coleman and others, myself included, felt like the time was right to at least signal some intent as to what we wanted to do on the question of movement, not on the question of location. So there'll be more in-depth discussion in February on it and hopefully a vote on it. But there's still a lot more work to be done after the vote on whether to move it or
Okay.
not. Okay?
And we won't know if we're able to move it until we hear from North Carolina Supreme Court's
And our
whatever their
attorney.
decision, and our
Right.
attorney.
Right. And then we'll have to, based with that full information at that time, we'll have to make a decision. So again, Mayor, it's my recommendation that we refer this for full discussion and full vote in February.
Okay, the next thing on our agenda is the Utilities Commission, and that's usually chaired by Councilman Bond. In his absence, I'll ask Roger if you'll take that.
Thank you, Mayor. You have before you a change in our current regulations related to the use of solar energy by some of our residents. Because of a change in, as I understand, the change in the metering system, some of the language no longer is appropriate. And so Mike Nicholas has proposed some changes in wording. Deleting some of the wording that's in the current CG rider, CG rider number 1, and CG stands for community generated. I don't know if the people who are generating their own electricity. I'm learning on this. It could be solar, but in most cases it's related. I mean, it could be wind, but in most of the cases it's solar. So the committee would suggest that we refer this to the full council on the 8th of February for the removal of the section that Mike Nichols says is no longer needed for this. And it's important because we have to put this on our website so that people know what the guidelines are for using solar energy and solar power. So that's my recommendation, is we bring it before the full council. Corey, do you need to add anything to that?
Just to add one thing, just over the next couple meeting sessions, committee meetings, as well as our full council meetings, One of the items that department heads, were tasked with in the, last 120 days, was to help with some of the clerical cleanup, some of the policies for any things that we've changed. So this type of documentation updates or amendments will be fairly regular over the next few months as we correct a few things where just some old language needs to be removed, just so our customers are up to date on what's relevant and what the town, publishes. So,
Corey, I know that several residents have asked for additional guidance and using battery storage so that they would produce more than they would be selling back to the town. Any movement on that at this point?
Mike, as well as myself, have had a couple of discussions with some of the folks from Electricities, which is the power agency that is our kind of guiding board that we're also a member of their commission. We've had some discussion with them. We're trying to get an idea of what's a good fit for Edenton, what's a good fit for a smaller residential community to determine what's out there. One of the things that we are focusing on now is the additional cost associated with us maintaining us as a secondary source of power supply when a customer chooses to have their own primary generation for power. What is the town's user cost associated with maintaining that service up into that meter?
Yeah.
That's some of the discussions that we're having now, is how do we consider a reasonable user fee for someone for us to maintain from that pole to that meter base. There's some costs there that we need to kind of iron out before we move forward with that. But we are working on that, yes.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay, and the next is our finance committee, and that's normally chaired by Councilman Dixon. And in his absence, which one of y'all, either Hack or Roger Colton, which one?
I'll take care of it.
Okay,
Yeah. Mayor, the first item is a budget amendment as it relates to the CARES grant, as it also relates to the airport phase 3, and as it relates to that, this amendment is to accept the $32,000 grant from the COVID relief funds provided by the American Rescue Plan through the Airport Coronavirus Response Grant Program. This would be the third grant that the airport has received from this program. The first grant was in the amount of $30,000 back in June of 2020. The second grant was received back in June of 2021 in the amount of $13,000. And the funds that are going to be used for this grant will help improve the public safety of visitors of the airport, and town staff recommends to us that we send it for full council for approval, and I would ask that we do that. The second matter for this committee is a budget amendment on the Queen Anne Bulkhead project. On January 13th, the former town manager, and we'd like to thank her for continuing to work on that despite her no longer being in our employ. And I know that the new town manager thanks her also.
Yes, very much.
But she had agreed to carry this forth to the end on our behalf and on Corey's behalf, and she submitted all the final paperwork and supporting material to the finance director and to Corey for the closure of this particular project. The project was completed mid-year of 2021, and it just took us a while to get the paperwork and supporting materials together. The grant was in the amount of $107,845, and it was through the North Carolina Division of Coastal Management. The project itself was very critical in helping us secure the shoreline along Queen Anne Creek, and also helped us with much needed repairs to the East Water Street pumping station. We again thank Anne Marie for helping us out with this. The total project cost was $158,645. Town staff recommends that council send the budget amendment to full council for vote in February. Is that correct, Corey?
That's correct.
Any blanks you need to fill in?
No, sir.
Okay. Mayor, that concludes the Finance Committee's report.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, that completes our agenda. Meeting adjourned.